On this week's episode, 32 is the new 70. Does Gypsy Rose get canceled? And we answer your dating and relationship questions. Welcome to the Ask a Matchmaker podcast. I'm your host, Matchmaker Maria. And before we call in this week's guest, I have some housekeeping. This is homework. I need you to go to the show notes. I need you to check out those links because I'm currently recruiting for some amazing clients. New year, new amazing clients. I can only keep you in mind if you are in my database. And if you want to become a client, there's a link there too to schedule an info chat and we can talk about it. And what else? We've got other stuff going on. We've got Agape Intensive in real life happening in March. So if you are in New York City or you want to travel to New York City, early March, there's an intensive happening. And and then we have this week's episode, which is a hotline. So this week's guest on Ask a Matchmaker is Carrie Berk. I want you to go follow her. Again, show notes, link, Carrie Berk. It's spelled with 2 Ks at the end.
Yes.
Well, Carrie, welcome to the Ask a Matchmaker podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited.
And just to age all of us, those watching and those listening, you were named after Carrie Bradshaw.
Yes, I was.
What year were you born?
2002. The end of 2002.
I graduated high school. That was, I love that.
I'm a baby. It's okay.
You're a baby. I love that.
It's okay. We own it.
Wait, and you already, hold up. You've published several books.
Yes. So I wrote my first book when I was 8 with my mom. Of course. Couldn't do it alone when I was 8.
Yeah.
And I just turned 21 and I just released my solo debut book.
Which was called My Real-Life Rom Com.
Yes.
And tell my audience what this book is about.
So My Real-Life Rom Com is basically, I call it a memoir manifesto. It's nonfiction, and I talk about all my experiences in dating, kind of like Carrie Bradshaw, but for Gen Z. So I talk about my experiences, basically ages 13 through 18 or 19. And there's some crazy experiences I've had. And I started writing it just as a form of self-therapy, like to kind of get through these breakups, almost as a diary entry. But I soon realized there were no books out there written by a teenager for teenagers about dating. And this is something that's really going to help a lot of teens out there realize that they're not alone in their experiences. Especially
the dating book that you're writing for this generation, you're 21. You've never even, you've always had online dating. That's been the default for you.
Yeah, I've always had online dating. Obviously, dating in the age of social media and with the pandemic is super unique. And you don't see many books out there about that, let alone written by a teenager. Nobody understands a teenager more than another teenager.
Right. And are you, the dating experiences that you had as a teenager, you mentioned 13, 14, 15, 16. Is Snapchat a part of this? Is this like a character in the book? Explain to me, you're unique from all of my guests because you're very young. You've never, like you just said, you've never experienced a place of analog dating. And social media has existed as a default as well, not just the online dating sites.
Oh yeah, I've had social media since I was probably 10, maybe younger than that.
What kind of social media?
Default. I had an Instagram when I was 10. I can't remember when I downloaded Snapchat, maybe 12 or 13. I was definitely Snapchatting when I was 13. I talk about in the book, my first kiss is when I was 13. And I was flirting with the guy on Snapchat just by sending photos back and forth. No conversation, just photos, flirty photos.
What kind of photos? What's a flirty photo?
Well, not nudes.
No, but I've seen some of these. I recently, one of my girlfriends posted her daughter's flirty photo that Carrie sent on Snapchat, and it was literally a picture of their shoulder.
Yeah, just
No, not even that.
Just a shoulder.
Just a shoulder.
Oh, weird.
Like what you would see in a medical journal. This is a shoulder.
Oh, weird. See, I feel like it's changed a lot. Back then when I was 13, I don't know, what year was that? 2015 or something. The silence. Okay. 2015. It was the age of duck faces. So you take a selfie, something like that. Now I have a Snapchat. I don't even use it. I feel like I've matured from that, as have a lot of people. We're not necessarily in the age of Snapchat and Snapchat streaks anymore.
You're mostly on TikTok. I've seen you've got millions of followers.
Yeah, I have almost 4 million on TikTok. TikTok's my
Are you
jam.
are you showing shoulders on TikTok? Like what?
Definitely not.
Okay.
No, TikTok I mostly use for product reviews, just like fun videos reviewing my favorite products.
Okay.
It started out during the pandemic. I was posting fitness videos, so maybe
Sure.
a little bit of shoulder in the fitness videos.
Sure.
But yeah, I feel like that's more just like having fun. I wasn't using that necessarily for like dating or romance or anything like that. I think really that part of my life came into play when I was like 18 and I downloaded my first dating app.
What was your first dating app?
So it was called Locks Club.
Oh yeah, Locks Club.
For the Jews.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel like that was like the least sus of the dating apps, just to like download Locks Club. It sounded very innocent. But it was a little weird.
How is it weird?
I mean, it was very niche. Like everyone on there, I don't really describe this a lot in the book. Everyone on there was kind of just like, I don't know, like using like being Jewish is like a stereotype, and I feel like it was kind of like uncomfy. It's just like, cool, you're Jewish. I love dating a nice Jewish boy, but like cut the locks jokes. Like,
I mean, you're on their app.
It was just like, I don't know, it was like a little much. I got like some weird pickup lines on there. Like, how does this sound? Like, you, me, and like the best Hanukkah ever. It was just like a little much. Like, I don't know.
I was going to say like you, me, and let's go get a bagel. Exactly.
Something like that too. How about like you, me, and like let's go to the movies? Or like you, me, and like let's go grab sushi. Something like that.
Right.
It was very like stereotyped.
No one's saying like you, me, and like let's get some crab.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's like not kosher.
Right. I mean,
that was like a...
Yeah.
No audience on that joke. Anyway.
So anyway, I kept Locks for a while, downloaded Hinge. I met my boyfriend on Hinge.
Oh, you met your boyfriend on Hinge. Okay.
So it works. You know, the process works. Dating apps work.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I'm pro dating apps.
Are you pro dating apps?
Oh, yeah. I'm pro dating apps.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I think dating apps are a fantastic tool if you know how to use them.
Do you have like a favorite? Don't know how to use them.
I do have a favorite.
Okay.
My favorite is Tinder.
Really?
And then my second favorite is Hinge.
Okay, why Tinder over Hinge?
I like Tinder because there's like intention that is listed, which I know you could do on Hinge as well.
Yeah.
But I think Tinder, it gives you like that really nice about me box at the top. So you can turn it to your own prompt.
Yeah.
I also like that Tinder is the most used app in the world.
Right.
And it's very popular. In fact, most people, if you ask them like what apps you have on your phone, they might say Bumble and Tinder or Hinge and Tinder. So it seems to be like a default. So if I were online dating and you're asking me like what apps I should use right now, and I was in your age group, I would say Tinder and Hinge. Because
interesting.
You know, you'll get the biggest audience possible. And I think of Tinder because I should say what my number one reason for why I like Tinder is Tinder doesn't allow you to they don't allow you to over filter. So you can't filter for, you know, religion, for instance. Right. And to me, Tinder exhibits this place where it's like it's the app that you're just going to go out with. Like it's a tool. It's not like, oh, I'm going to find my husband here. You might. They've got millions of marriages, so it could work for you. But it's like, I'm just going to meet people. So it's like, it's less serious in this way. I don't know if that's making sense to you.
I guess it depends what you're looking for on each dating app. Like for me, I've only heard like bad things about Tinder.
I've only heard, so it depends on like who you're listening to, right?
And your age group.
And your
like,
age group,
yeah.
sure, right?
Like I've only heard Tinder is like hookup centric. Like everyone on Tinder is just looking to fuck. So
there are people who are looking to do that on all apps, including LinkedIn.
True. Including LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn, Duolingo.
Painful.
Yeah,
Duolingo. Yeah, I've never heard that one.
Yeah. So there are apps that, you know, there that exist, right? But there's also a lot of people who get married through these apps.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends. And look, you're also young. So you're surrounded by people, I assume, that are also in your age range.
Yeah.
Like your friends, your girlfriends, right? So how many of your girlfriends are getting married the next year?
None,
right?
Yeah.
But there's going to be a time when you are 28, 29, 30, 31, and suddenly you're invited to like 8 weddings that summer.
There you go.
Like that's all you're going to be doing. It's going to be wedding season. And that's going to happen for like 7 years. Like I think me and my husband only just stopped getting invited to weddings. Now it's like my parents' friends' kids are getting married. Like we're finally like at the younger generation. So then you start to hear like, oh yeah, like my friendship circle, they met through Hinge, they met through Bumble, they met through Tinder. Like you hear more of that as well.
I feel like from what I've heard, it's almost like a hierarchy of like dating apps. I feel like Hinge has been like the happy medium for me. Like, my experience with Tinder, it was just an overwhelming amount of people just wanting to have sex.
Right.
Hinge, you kind of got like a happy medium. Like you got that, but you also got like serious people. And on Locks Club, it was like too serious.
Too serious.
Like everyone just wanted to like really get to know you and like, you know, ask
Jewish
about
babies.
Marriage on the first date. That was like too intense.
Yeah.
So Hinge was like my happy medium.
That's
so I
great.
deleted the others.
Yeah.
I kept Hinge and I kept
Is your boyfriend Jewish?
Yes.
Did you filter for that?
No.
That's great then. But you're in Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
All
so
right. Okay. That's like
yeah,
walk around.
I'm like Upper East Side girly.
Yeah. So you just have to like literally go to your local deli.
There you go.
And
but
there
like
they
I said,
are.
he's from Jersey, so it wasn't like filtered by New York City.
There are people in
Upper
New
East
Jersey
Side.
who are Jewish.
Fair. But it wasn't like I filtered like New York City, Upper East Side, Jew.
So wait, when you were dating on the app, he was from New Jersey. You opened up your location parameters.
He was moving to New York.
Has he moved to New York? Was that what he was saying?
He was moving in like a week or 2 weeks.
Oh, so he lives in New York then?
He lives in New York, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right. So I think he had changed his location at that point. I actually don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know. We keep saying like one day down the line, we're going to re-download Hinge and just like read our messages to each other and see what that was like.
You guys are going to die from cringe. And then all of your girlfriends are going to call and be like, your boyfriend's on Hinge right now. He's cheating on you. And you're going to have to be like, no, we downloaded it together. I can see it. I can see your future.
You know what happened? It was like a few months ago. I had like an email. Your Hinge subscription is like expiring.
Sure.
And he was like freaking out. He's like, it's just expiring. I'm like, no. Like the apps have been like deleted forever. Like I just bought like the 1 year subscription.
How long have you been dating?
Almost a year.
Okay. Yeah.
So I just bought like a little bit of like a subscription for like a few months, and then he saw it and he's like, oh my God. And I'm like, no, don't worry. Like it's been deleted. Yeah, but I feel like everyone kind of goes down that rabbit hole where like they get like a little bite of Hinge and they're like, oh, I like this. Like, let me buy it for like a month, for 6 months, for a year.
I really believe that you should be doing that. I think it only helps. If you're going to online date, lean in.
Exactly.
You know? What are you currently obsessed with?
Oh my God. I was just thinking about this as I was talking. Miss Gypsy Rose.
Yeah.
I'm watching the act right now.
It's everyone's obsession.
Oh,
the
so
act?
good.
Yo, you're watching is that a documentary or a show?
It was a show. The Joey King show.
Oh, the Joey King. Oh, wait, that's because I feel like I've seen it all on TikTok at this point.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm like, do I need to like actually watch this?
It is so
TV?
good. Okay. I've been binge watching it. I haven't binge watched a show.
I mean, Patricia Arquette.
She's ridiculous.
She's amazing. She's probably one of the most talented actresses. I don't think she gets enough. Yeah. Like even on Severance, like I'm obsessed with her.
And
have you
Joey
watched
King.
Severance?
I haven't watched Severance.
Okay, you gotta get on that. That's really good.
What is that?
It's like the best show ever because there's zero exposition. So it's the show by Ben Stiller. He's I think he's the director and did he write it? But it's a show about how they sever your brain so you have like a work life and a home life and they don't know about each other. And the cool thing about this show is that there's zero exposition. So at no point is someone explaining to you what's happening. You are seeing it from the eyes of one of the people as they're discovering what's happened to their brain. You're learning too. So when you have something like with zero exposition, you have this place of like really good filmmaking. So I think it's one of the best shows ever written.
Wow.
It's incredible. You have to watch it. But Patricia Arquette's one of the main characters. She's the villain.
I have to watch it.
She's amazing. Like she is truly incredible in that show.
Okay. Once I'm done on the Gypsy Rose train here.
Yeah. So tell me about Gypsy Rose. So do you think it's gonna last?
Do I think it's gonna last?
Yeah.
Do I think what's gonna last? The relationship?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think they're gonna have a fun time.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's gonna last?
I mean, how long have they been talking in prison? Like, God knows how many years they've probably gotten to know each other.
Oh, shit, for real? For years?
How do you know? I mean, she's been in prison for 8 years.
Okay.
So when did they meet?
I don't know.
How do you know
this?
I don't know.
Is there like a wiki or something?
There's a documentary that just came out. I've only seen TikTok clips. I'm watching the fiction series right now because it's just like ridiculous.
Well,
Joey King's ridiculous.
Is really great.
Yeah. But I'm so fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by how she dates in it. Like when she gets access to, I think it's like christiandating.com or something like that, and she's talking.
Oh, in prison or in the
before prison.
Before she goes to prison, like when she starts dating, when she with
Yeah.
her stolen. Whatever, she actually bought the laptop.
Yeah, she bought the laptop.
Yeah.
She goes behind her mom's back. Yeah, and she's on like ChristianDating.com or whatever it is, just like talking to this guy, and then her mom finds out and like smashes her computer. It's just like fascinating. The whole thing is so fascinating to me.
It's interesting to watch her. I said this at a previous episode. It's interesting to watch her on TikTok, like now talking
Right?
to the audience, because she's learning the internet as she goes right now.
She is. I wonder how much she learned really in prison, like what that experience was like for her. I'm not sure if she talks about that at all in the documentary, but I would be curious, like just how much she learned about the outside world in prison. Because from my understanding, she kind of went straight from killing her mom to prison. So she's basically like in captivity, like hardly knowing anything about the outside world other than what she like secretly looked up on her computer, to going in prison.
Right. Let's think about 8 years ago. So 8 years ago
Right?
I think Obama was still president. So
Yeah. 8
you know,
years ago was what, 2016?
what do you think is going to get her canceled? That's what I'm wondering.
It's a matter of time, right?
It is always a matter
I
of
feel
time.
like everyone will get canceled for something at some point.
Sure.
That's a really good question. I feel like someone's gonna find out something about her history. Like some letter's gonna get like uncovered, or we're gonna find out like something about her husband, or like the two of them are gonna do something. Who knows? I mean,
So you think they'll last then?
I do.
Wow, you're so hopeful.
You don't think they'll last?
I'm curious to see what's going to happen. I'm curious. Like I keep thinking about, like, you know, it's a lot to take in the internet.
Mm-hmm.
The internet of 2024 is a lot to take in.
Yeah, she's probably like,
with,
whoa.
with no context. And that's what it is. There's no context.
I feel like what I will say is she's very well media trained. From all the interviews I've seen, it's very clear like she went through media training. Like I was listening to her interviews, and I was media trained from like 8 years old, so I know like what it's like. I was watching this and I was like, okay, she must have spent like hours talking to someone. They must have told her exactly how to answer this question, how to dodge this question. Like she knows her shit. Like she's not a stupid girl. So I don't know, it's interesting to me to see how she's like adapting.
She's a grown
to
woman now.
space.
How old is she now? Do you know?
Let's see, she was like,
I'll look it up.
look it up. I want to say like 30, 31.
Oh, wow.
Wait, yeah, in the show, this is so funny. I remember this because I just have the shittiest memory.
She's 32.
Yeah, there you go. Not young.
It's not old.
Okay, but she's not like... Your producer's like dead. No, but she's not like... When she... Okay, let me rewind. But... defend myself here. When she went to prison, she was like, how old? 8 years ago.
26.
26. Okay, fair.
26 not old either.
No, she's young. I'm
Oh
21.
my God.
I think I'm old.
You don't know what. You know what? I am going to make a little video clip of this for you, and I'm going to send it to you when you turn 39.
Oh my God.
And you're going to...
Are you 39?
Die of cringe. I am 39.
Queen. Love it.
Anyway, are you ready to answer some dating questions?
I think so.
Let's go.
I don't know.
I can't wait for people to start saying their ages. You're like, oh you're still dating?
Everyone above the age of 21, like, hating me right now. You think I'm old.
I'm not old.
You're not old. But Gypsy's not old. Okay, let me ask you. What do you consider, like, old?
What do I consider old? I don't consider things. So I never, even when I was 21, I didn't think of like 39 as old. I just thought it's older.
Yeah.
Right. This old thing, that's your generation. We're like, oh, you're 35. That's old.
Yeah.
Like even just now, I said 39. You're like queen, and I go, okay, you
are.
know, like, cool.
Well, because you don't see like
what. No, because hold on a second, right? Because this is what's different, right? Like when my mom was 39, her generation looked older, right? They all had shorter, wavy hair. They did their makeup different. Now you look at like 55-year-olds and they look, 32, and so like our perception of age is different. And also I see a bunch of 21-year-olds who are doing fillers and they look 40. So,
Well, I say queen because portray yourself as young and hip, and you have a dating podcast, and you're just like a cool girl. It's like a compliment.
Please make this the clip.
It's a compliment. What do you mean?
I don't know how to, I started my business 15 years ago.
So how old were you?
23, 24.
It's amazing.
It's okay. It is what it's my resume, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying to you, like, I'm just teasing you too, right? But like
Yeah.
also the things that you're saying are really funny in my view. And it's because you're saying like you're hip, you're cool because you have a dating podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would say the same thing to someone who is 25
Okay.
with a dating podcast. But it makes it even cooler. Like, my mom is like in her 50s. If she was 40 and she had a dating podcast, I'd be
Why
like,
can't she have a dating podcast in her 50s?
she can.
Yeah.
But if she was, in between the ages of like 40 and 50 and had a dating podcast, I'd be like, I have the coolest fucking mom ever.
Yeah, you hear that? My kids should be saying I'm hip and cool. I am hip. I don't even, whatever. Carrie,
It's a compliment.
Carrie, are you ready to answer some dating and relationship questions?
I don't know. Now I don't know.
Welcome to the Ask a Matchmaker hotline. How can we help you?
Hello, thank you for letting me ask my question. So I am relatively new to the online dating game in the last few months. And this past month has been especially hard with, I went on a few really good dates with a couple people and ultimately got rejected. And so just kind of feeling like kind of burnt out and bummed out and wanted to see if you have advice on kind of next steps and how to re-engage optimistically as opposed to cynically and jaded.
This is such a great question. Let me ask you some follow-up questions.
Yes.
First of all, how old are you?
33.
Good for you.
So
And
young.
She is young. And then also, when you say rejected, do you mean like you didn't go on a second date, or they unmatched you before you even got to the first date? Like, what's the definition here of rejection?
I'd say the two people that I'm like thinking of went on a few dates with both of them. And then ultimately they said like, oh, I'm seeing someone else that I'm going to pursue instead. So kind of ended things that way.
So basically you're asking like how to shift the dating mindset.
Mm.
Yeah, to not feel like, okay, there's something wrong with me because these two people that I really liked that I thought had really good chemistry with, had really good dates with, like ultimately went with somebody else.
Were they younger than you?
No, they were both older by a few years.
How much older?
One of them was actually like 13 years older and the other one was 5 years older.
Okay. All right.
Why are they not married?
One
hold
was
on a second.
divorced.
Alex, do we need to fix her microphone? Or-
One was divorced?
Wait. Oh, she's good? Okay. All right. So one was
Yeah.
divorced.
The
Okay.
oldest one, though, one is 13 years older.
So what would you just say to someone who's feeling rejected and they need to like go back to the optimism of like when they're online dating?
I'd say to feel it out first, like allow yourself to be upset and just feel the feels first, and then like give yourself as much time and space as possible to process it, and then like from there like focus on like self-care, I think, and like once you're in a good place yourself, then move forward. Like if you're going into dates and just like serial dating when you just feel like shit and like someone just dumped you, I don't feel like it's going to be productive anyway. So just make sure you're in a good place first and then move on. Also, is the one 13 years older was divorced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
He's a hoe.
Why? Why?
You're a good girl. He's a hoe.
Why?
Well, okay. He's like 45. Do we know why he got divorced? I'm like analyzing her situation right now.
I don't really know, but based on the conversations we did have, like he was definitely dating a lot. And so maybe that was a red flag, but
He was
he
dating
seemed
a
very
lot.
genuine. And yeah, he told me lots of stories about the other date, like the dates he had been on. It was like a lot of different people. So I was like, interesting conversation topic.
But like, wait, hold on. Him being divorced, why would that make him a red flag? Does he have kids?
He does. And I mean, the divorce to me is not a red flag, but
Yeah.
just the fact that he was telling me like about
Yeah,
all these
that's kind
dates
of
that he had
weird that
been
he was
on.
telling you like dating stories on a date because I don't think that's appropriate for
Yeah,
anybody to do.
I don't think so either.
In thinking about your question, like I think what comes to me is that let me ask you another follow-up question and then it's going to, I think, lay out all the dominoes. In the last 6 months, how many first dates have you been on?
Probably like 10 or 12.
Oh my God, that's incredible. And how many of those first dates have gone to second dates?
5,
This
5 or
is
6.
this is really good conversion. So you see how like your perception and my perception of the same thing seems to be different,
Yeah.
right? Because there are a lot of people. I love asking this question. It's one of my favorite questions. Like, how many first dates have you been in the last 6 months? And I'll hear from people just 2 or just 6 or just 4, right? But you've been on more than 2 dates a month statistically, right? Like on averages.
Yeah.
And that's great. And what I would tell you right now in 2024 is, I don't believe in the saying that like dating is a numbers game. I think that's complete bullshit. But I do think that there is a space here that like you need to treat dating as an opportunity to experience new things, not necessarily tied to the outcome of that date.
Yeah.
So here's what I want you to do. What city do you live in?
I live in Eugene, Oregon.
Wow. Okay. I know nothing about Eugene, Oregon.
Very
but
close to Portland.
Okay. So what I want you to do is write down the 10 things that if I were a tourist in Eugene, I have to do. And I want you to block out your calendar over the next 10 weeks to do those things. And when you're online dating, I want you, or if you're meeting people out and about, I want you to essentially ask the guy out to that thing. Like it takes away the pressure of the date and rejection. You're just going to a thing you've always wanted to go to. Maybe you want to go, I know they do like skydiving there, right? I don't think you should skydive with someone on a first date, by the way, but let's say there's like a horse farm or something. You can go to that horse farm with that person, like, hey, I want to do this dude ranch. Do you want to come with me on Thursday or whatever, Saturday? Like, make it more experience-based. Check out Eventbrite, right? If you go on Eventbrite, put in Eugene, Oregon, see what pops up. Put in Portland, Oregon. Start subscribing to these things so that way you're just looking at someone to do, like as a partner to do these things. You're not tied to the outcome of like, oh my God, he's not my boyfriend, he's rejected me. Is that making any sense, what I'm saying to you?
Yeah, I like that idea a lot because I think it just takes the pressure off of feeling like, okay, I have to like perform on this first date. We have to do this like certain thing, go to dinner or drinks and have an interview. And instead it becomes a low stakes,
Yeah. Where was your first
outing
date?
that I want to do anyway.
My first date was a coffee date.
Your first date was a coffee date. Where are your, dear listener, where are your first dates typically?
I've definitely done some coffees and lunches. I've had a few dinner and drinks, but a lot of them have actually been coffee. I feel like that's a little bit less pressure and doesn't have to go on as long if you don't want it to.
I even want to make it even more less pressure. I want it to be your next date. I want it to be a walking date. I wanted you to let's go I want to take some photos of, the foliage or whatever. I don't know what the hell is in Eugene, Oregon. You guys are gonna have to teach me. But like, I want to take photos of this. You want to come with me? Like, make it walking. Like, make it as low stakes as possible because you're just meeting someone, right? You don't even know if you like them, and yet you're feeling terrible because they rejected you. You give it a minute.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. But do you want to add anything to that?
No, I agree. I think as low stakes as possible early on so that you won't leave yourself susceptible to disappointment.
Yeah.
Is definitely important. And don't worry about the 13 years older. You're better. Go on a coffee date.
Thank you.
Let's take our next question. Welcome to the Ask a Matchmaker hotline. How can we help you?
Hi there. My name is Patty, and I recently got back into dating, downloaded Hinge on beginning of December, and have gone on a couple first dates and went to a speed dating event. But the question I have is stemming from a date I went on Monday. I'm 36 and the person is 40, the male is 40. And on his profile, he said he had kids, which was fine. And he also shared that he lived in like a city that was closer to me, or like an neighborhood that was closer to me, We go on a date. We did axe throwing. It was a first time for both of us. We
Wow.
signed up for like a little 30-minute session. So it was like a good activity, and we could tell, like, it was a good way to share right away if we like could be around each other, or was it awkward as hell. And after that, we went to go get like a little local dessert. And then he asked if I wanted to extend again to go play games. There's like a game place in our city. All that to be said, throughout the first two segments, good date, good interest, found out he worked for the military. Where my question stems from in the third and final part of this date is that he shared that in working for the military, he is not in active duty and got back from a tour in October. His children are 15 years old, they're twins. He doesn't have a job and is living at home with his dad. So before he left for a tour in May, he got out of his whatever living situation that he was in with a roommate, and then went on this tour, came back, and has been his situation since he's returned in October.
Okay, so I just want to confirm what I'm hearing. He's
Yes.
a single dad who is a veteran, who is currently unemployed and living with his elder father. Is that
Some
correct?
of that is accurate.
Some
So
of that.
the parents or the kids live full time with the mom.
Sure. I mean, he was active duty, so I assume so.
Yes. And he is still in the military, but not in active duty. So he only works for the military like 2 times a month. He's
see.
in like the National
Reserves, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So works for them and is still like, so will still be going on tours and things like that. He just signed a new 6-year contract with them.
I see. So is he
but
getting
in
paid
that-
in those 6 years, or is it just like, I don't understand how this works? Do you know?
See, this is what I'm saying. I had to ask questions. He gets paid for the days and times that he works. And like when he goes on tour, then that is his full-time job.
I see.
But he doesn't have a full-time job like right now when he's home.
Is
He's not getting paid.
Is he
right
open
now.
to getting a full-time job, or do you think he just wants
He
to stay in
said
the
he
situation?
was looking, again, this was a first date. And so like this was shared after, this was a almost 3.5-hour date. So this was towards
Pretty
the
long
end.
date.
Says he's looking for it. I am just like, I'm in my head about like how ambitious I am and
Right.
the work that I do.
Right.
And I'm like, is this, I'm trying to get perspective.
Yeah. What is your question?
Is this something I should look? I know your big stance is like you go on a first date to get a second date.
Yeah.
He's already reached out to get a second date. And
Okay.
I'm wondering, like, is this something that I should go on a second date and like inquire more and learn more? Or because I am like, quite honestly, like, I don't love the fact that he doesn't have a job and lives at home with his dad at 40. That's not appealing to me.
Yeah. Okay. That's valid. All right.
I have thoughts.
Let me hear your thoughts.
I feel like the problem, I could be totally wrong. The problem isn't just that he's unemployed, which obviously isn't ideal, especially like if he's 40, you probably want something more stable. I think the problem is like you seem like someone who has a very ambitious personality and you want someone to match that. I feel like that's like more of an issue. Like if your core values align, like if you're someone who values your work and your ambition and he doesn't, like that's gonna be an issue. It would be different if he was just, I think, like unemployed, like, and if you really, really liked him, like if there's a will, there's a way. But
I mean, unemployment is just a transition word,
right?
Like you're not, I would hope he finds a job immediately,
right?
And there are certain ways to get those things, but do you have more thoughts? Because I have a lot of thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's just just paying attention if you were to go on a second date with him to like his personality and his core values. Like if unemployment is a transition phase, like how interested is he in getting a job? How driven is he? How ambitious is he? Is that if that's a core value of yours, like looking
Right.
for core values in him as well.
What was his, do you know what his specialty was in the military? Like, was he a mechanic? Was he a doctor? Like, what's the specialty here?
Yeah, he is in service. He is not an engineer, but he like runs basically in like customer service of the Air Force. He was in the Army for 10 years and had then transferred to the Air Force and has been there for 10 years.
I know nothing about the military at all. I don't, I can't even remotely say if this is a scam or not, or if this, I don't know anything about Veterans Affairs. I know nothing. And if someone who's listening knows, educate the hell out of us. Tell me in my DMs, tell me in the comments on the YouTube video so that we know, like, educate us on this, because I'm really struggling with my thoughts. I feel like here's what's happened. You had a really great first date the first 2.5 hours. And in those 2.5 hours, you knew you really wanted a second date. And in that last segment, as you called it, of that date, he throws down to you what his future looks like, which is he's a military man, right? There's just a lot of questions that have not been answered for you, and I guess for us, to like understand like what that means for you, right? I don't know what it means to be a veteran that's unemployed. I don't know what it means, how do Veterans Affairs help someone get a job placement, or why does he have to be in the National Reserves now? Why can't he be working for the Air Force? Like, I have friends who work in the Air Force. That's their full-time job, period, you know? So I don't know how any of this works. You don't either. So you have to ask them those questions. I think what you're struggling with and why you called in is because you went on a really great first date and you want to go on a second date, and you don't want to set yourself up to get hurt by someone who is not emotionally or intellectually or physically or financially capable of being compatible to you. But you're never going to know that if you don't go on a second date.
Yeah, I think everyone has baggage. Everyone has something that's going on in their life. The question here is like, how much do you like him? Like, I feel like if you really like this guy, then like I said, if there's a will, there's a way. Like, you'll learn how to deal with that, and you know, maybe you can like even rub off like some of your ambition on him. Like, you never really know.
And it's really hard to measure ambition because, you know, he might be ambitious, by the way. You've only been on one date. He hasn't been able to show you anything. And there are plenty of people in the military that are ambitious. Right.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
Yeah. So it just kind of, I don't know. It sounds like you want to go on a second date. And I think maybe on that second date, maybe you don't wait until the third segment before you're leaving to be asking some pretty serious questions. Maybe, you know, after the appetizers comes, you ask like, hey, I had some more questions about Veteran Affairs. Maybe you can teach me something, and like have him explain it to you from A to Z so you can understand it.
Also very respectable. Like, he said all of this on the first date, I think. Like, some people might interpret it as like too much, but I think like he knows, like, he's a single dad and he's in the military. Like, he knows his situation, and I think it's like respectable that he told her.
Did you know he worked in the military on his profile?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I can go back and look at his profile.
Okay.
See. The other thing that I briefly mentioned, but then didn't add any context to, so they shared that they lived in a neighborhood that's probably and I know distance is not a factor, but I do think that this, I'm like, you weren't honest. He said that he lived in an area that's probably a 10 to 15 minute drive for me. And then in telling me that he was living with his father and didn't have a job, found out that he actually lives like an hour north.
No. That's the red flag. No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't even go on a second date now.
Okay.
Especially if, let me ask you a question. Did the place that he say that he lived in, is that like the better zip code?
Yes.
Yeah. I would. That's, that's the red flag right there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And the job title just says operations at government.
This guy sounds like he's going to scam you.
Okay, great.
I'm sorry. I hate to be the deliverer of bad news.
Okay.
Yeah, you should have started off with that point.
Well, no, I mean, I'm glad I got all the context, but like that's the shoe right there. You know, that's what just dropped. Because like, I hate it when people use the good zip code to like, that's catching, that's a bait. That's bait and switch right there. you know?
Right. And for
Yeah.
me, again, I am very, like, as you all coined, very ambitious. Also, Maria, I'm joining your intensive at the end of, like, I'm one of your people at the end of January.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing. I can't wait to meet you.
yeah, hi. So, I like am willing to work on within certain realms, but I also have like the mileage that I want to work within. You know what I
Right.
mean? For my
Yeah.
relationship and my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was just a deterrent. And so in all of it, I was trying to figure out, okay, how much leeway do I give to learn more, but also not waste my time? So you all
He
helped.
lied. He lied. And I
Don't waste
think
my
that's
time.
the worst part. I think he
Yeah.
lied. And I think it's a lot. Like, it's not the fact that he lives with his dad that's the red flag. It's not the fact that he's
Mhm.
being in the military is not a red
Right.
flag, period. It can have a really hard lifestyle, that, you're in if you're in the military. I'm not taking away that. But
But he
on
lied.
its own, these are not red flags. But yeah, lying about your zip code, and when the other zip code is the good zip code.
Yeah,
Mhm.
at first I was gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, and I was thinking it was just an innocent mistake. But the fact that
No.
it was just
An
a
hour
better
away.
zip code,
Yeah.
that's like a red
It's like,
flag.
oh, that's not it.
Yeah.
But, it's like you're almost dodging. It's like, if you kept dating and it worked out, maybe 2 years from now, you hear about this woman who didn't know her boyfriend had like a whole other family.
Exactly. Thank you. Next.
Ooh.
Literally.
Thanks for calling in. Thank you for calling in to the Ask a Matchmaker hotline. How can we help you?
Hi, Maria. Thank you for having me today. I recently got back into online dating, and I'm someone who's in a bigger body. So I'm wondering if you have any advice or recommendations for someone trying to navigate the online dating world and the struggles that come with, online dating being based off of first looks.
You're in a what body? I didn't hear the word you used.
Oh, I'm sorry, a bigger body?
Oh, you're in a bigger body. All right. How to navigate online dating when you're dating with a bigger body? That's the question?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough on what you just said. You just hit the nail on the head. Like, it's really tough when it's visual and the audience. Are you a straight woman?
Yes, yep, that's correct.
I've got so many solutions for you, but I want to hear Carrie.
I
Because
feel
you know what I've noticed, like, really quick, Carrie? Like,
Yeah.
I've noticed that with your specific generation,
Yeah.
you all have way more body diversity,
Oh, definitely.
like, in front of you than, like, I had at your age.
Uh-huh.
And also, I just recently read on Tinder that the younger generation is way more open to different body types. And I think it's because of the media diet that they've consumed that had more body diversity than the media diet that I was allowed to consume, based on what TV, what existed when I was growing up.
I agree. I think we definitely have more appreciation for like a diverse bodies. I'm gonna speak from my experience here. I'm an athlete, but I have a very like boxy body, and I have like really big boobs.
Okay.
And what I've noticed, even just like on TikTok, is like I get criticized a lot for my body. Like I get called like SpongeBob, like a refrigerator, like all this shit
What?
just for my body. I get all the time.
Like women or men?
Mostly women, but yeah, I get a lot of criticism for my body. So my answer here is I get it, and I feel like people will always find something to pick on, whether it's your body or your hair or maybe you got too much lip filler or something. People will always find something to pick on, but you will find someone who appreciates you for you. And if they don't, then they're a loser, and that's not the type of person you want to be with anyway.
Yeah. I think that it can be really tough to date online when your look is not mainstream. And that's not to say that there aren't going to be people that are swiping on you, or that's not to say that there aren't people that are attracted to you. I think what we are fed in our media diet, or what we're fed now in our social media diet, where we get to curate what we see, is going to heavily impact not only what we are attracted to, but even the person that's swiping on you, what they're attracted to. And I will tell you from experience, as a matchmaker who's, the predominant amount of my clients are men, that men have a very diverse set of what they're attracted to. In fact, today I was interviewing our newest client who, he's Egyptian and in DC. And so for any of my DC singles or DMV area singles that are Middle Eastern and Muslim. I need you to join my database ASAP. But anyway, so he was showing, I was asking him like what you're attracted to. And he was like saying like, oh, you're going to think I'm shallow, but like I'm attracted to like, really beautiful. And I was like, okay, let me test this out. So I started showing him photos of women that I think are beautiful, but maybe they're not mainstream beautiful. And he was like, yes, her. And I'm like, oh, you're fine. Like what you think you're picky, and I think you're kind of normal. Like, I think you're kind of normal. Right. And I think what the media does sometimes is it tries to make us think like, if you don't look like Scarlett Johansson, or if you don't look like Zendaya, then you're not attractive. And it's like, no. There's like a whole range of what people find attractive.
Yeah.
But to go back to what you're saying, I will tell you that a lot of online dating sites, they do filter with body type. And if you are overweight, if you are curvy, if you are obese, people might be filtering away from you. And that does give you way less access to those people. And that's not me saying I'm not saying that if you are obese, if you're fat, if you're overweight, these are bad things. These are just adjectives of what you look like, right? What I would do to hack around that is maybe not necessarily use an online dating site, but maybe turn a website like Eventbrite as my new online dating site. So like Eventbrite has a shit ton of events posted in most cities that have nothing to do with dating, right? They have trivia nights, they have blindfold sculpture nights, they have reading parties. They just have so many things happening. And what I like about this is that you get to, even if there's only other women at this event, you're meeting new people. But even if there are men there, it's under the social design that these men can come talk to you. Because what usually happens when you're out and about and not necessarily at like an organized event now, because people are so terrified of being turned into content, men don't go up to women to talk to them.
Yeah.
So join a website, an app like Eventbrite, where they list events. You go to that and use the social design of that event for people to talk to you, because I think it's a lot easier if you are outside of the mainstream of looks that get you filtered out. Let's say you're too short, or you're too tall, or you're overweight, or whatever is getting you filtered out. That can be at a massive advantage when you're out at different places in person.
Yeah.
People aren't filtering you out.
What do you do for work?
I'm a executive assistant.
Do you have any like work coffees or like company like parties or something? I feel like I have so many friends that just like meet their person at like, a big company like party or something.
Right.
Kind of the same idea as you, but like, yeah.
Well, I think it's harder too because I do work for like a remote first company, so it's a little bit difficult for that social interaction. But I've definitely like tried to take more try to take advantage of like when those things happen for this exact moment to like meet more people, broaden my my network of friends.
Yeah, you should still be online dating, by the way. And
Okay.
I would have the most killer photos ever that show that show an accurate depiction of what you look like on a date.
Yeah.
And kill it. Like, who cares if you're big?
Yeah,
Right.
no, I agree. And I am definitely getting like conversion and conversation. It's just like not what I want.
Oh, like why?
Like it's
Are you
just,
being fetishized?
No. I mean, there has been like a few weird comments, but it's also just like very like hookup culture-y sometimes. And it's like I'll have a great conversation and like go to say like, oh hey, like let's meet up, and then it just like there's no follow-through. So I'm like not converting like the likes into a first date or like a meetup for coffee or
But they're matching you, right? Which tells me that like you've got good photos. Now we just got to convert them into dates.
Also, if it's hookup culture, they probably are, I mean, maybe this is going too far, but they're harding you because they like the way you look. Like they like your body.
Right.
If they want to hook up with you, they like your body.
Right.
So
yeah, I don't think, look, like I said before, it can be hard when you're not in the mainstream because you get filtered out. But, and this is why before you mentioned about Tinder, like that's why I like Tinder. You don't have these gross like all the gross. You don't have this many amount of filters to filter out people. You just see the profile. And then you could swipe left and right and you filter on your own, but you don't allow the app to do it for you. I think that, I would love to see your profile, but I think if you have a killer photos of what you look like,
Mhm.
and then it's just a matter of converting them. And if you listen to previous episodes, even the episode I had on a couple of weeks ago with Erica Etten, we do talk about like how to convert into a date,
Mhm.
right? So it's not just, you know, you get those messaging going back and forth. Okay, now let's go to the date.
Mhm.
Like, don't wait around for the guy to ask you out. Just be like, you seem really cool.
Okay.
Let's meet in real life. I'm available on Thursday.
Okay. Sounds like a plan to me. Thank you.
I think this is great. I think you're going to do
I
awesome.
appreciate it. No, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Carrie.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Good luck.
Carrie,
Thank
you did Ask a Matchmaker.
That was scary.
It's tough getting the live questions, right?
No, I'm like scared of you.
You're scared of me?
Yeah.
Why are you scared of me?
I'm scared.
Why?
Because you're the expert.
Oh, well, okay. I don't know.
She's like, I'll take it.
Sure. I'm happy you came. I'm happy to hear your perspective. And
Yeah.
I think it's really fascinating to see, you know, your perception.
Yeah.
Right?
Look, I'll always give it to you like straight up. Obviously, I feel like as a 21-year-old, I'm going to have a different perception
Yeah.
of dating than you do. But
No, I
Yeah.
love it. I think that's like really great. I wish, I mean, look, like I said before in the start of the episode, you're dating in a very different place than I had to date when I was 21. When I was 21, if you want to meet someone, you go to a club and you danced, and some
Yeah.
guy would buy you a drink.
See,
There
I
were flip
wish.
phones. There were no smartphones.
Yeah.
And it was great. Now, if you go to a club, everyone is so terrified of being turned into content that nobody is dancing.
mm,
Right? I've never seen anyone dance at clubs. Now, you know what they do? They go to like electric music festivals, and that's where they can like kind of bounce around, and it's like, okay, you know, that's it. That's
yeah.
try to find a wife out of that.
I wish it would have happened that way. Like I always just wanted to like meet someone in the middle of Central Park and just like fall into them, and like that
Yeah.
would be it. But the
Yeah.
reality is like we are living in a digital world. So many people meet each other online these
Mhm.
days, and a lot of those interactions turn into like marriages and like genuine relationships.
Yeah. And you're native to those digital apps, right? Like you've always had Snapchat at your
Mm-hmm.
fingertips, right? Like you didn't have to, I don't know how many people, I mean, I see this with my kids, like you're not, unless your parents actively put you in situations where there's no digital imprint,
Yeah.
like, you know, learning how to socialize, there are a lot of people who just don't know how to do that in-person interaction.
Right.
Like you're talking about Central Park, okay, but someone has to learn to have the courage to go up to you,
Yeah,
not think that they're going to be turned into content.
exactly.
That's
I mean,
really tough.
I feel like it's worse for me, as what you say, like not turning into content. Because as a content creator,
Yeah.
I'm like pursuing these men, and like I always worried like they'd be worried about being turned into content or just like an accessory.
Do you make dating content? Like,
No,
I know
not
you have like
really.
your book, but like, do you talk about your dates on your content?
So when I first came out with my book, I did a little bit of dating content just to promote the book. In terms of my like current relationship, I share like photos on my Instagram, but I'm like very careful about like how much I share.
Sure.
Because I did it before. Like if you read in my relationship, like I was in my book, I was in so many like social media relationships for years, just like dating influencers where the relationship was only centered around social media.
Wow.
And I just did not like want that anymore. I feel like it's a maturity thing. Like I
Yeah.
reached a point where I was like, okay, these aren't sustainable. It might be fun for the content, but if you're looking for a lasting relationship, you're going to look for like an actual man with like ambition and like life goals other than just
You've
like
done so
posting.
much. You've done so, like the fact that you're, you know, using this language to describe that at 21 is like really commendable. You should be really proud of yourself.
Thank
So,
you.
I'm so happy you came to the Ask a Matchmaker podcast.
Thank you for having me.
In the show notes, I have a link. I have links to her TikTok, to her Instagram, to the link to her book, because we got a writer over here. And anything else? Anything else that we need to redirect people to?
That's about it.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Well, thanks again for coming.
Thank you.
And thank you, listener. If you're listening, don't forget to subscribe and rate. And if you're watching on YouTube, hi, can you caption below and tell us what you think? And that's it from me. Be lovable, but more importantly, be likable. See you next week.